Photography skills with creativity.
Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified when we post new videos.
Yeah, good day, guys. Welcome back to Deco Graphic Design Training. Today's episode is on the role of images in graphics design. As we all know, the images are part of everyday life. They debit the world that we see, and they are all around us. On screens, wall, catalogs, and packaging. But images are also mental images. They are ideas, concepts, and representation that we find in photograph, painting, illustration, and cinema. Images are highly effective communication tools, whether they are of real objects, people, or places, or more abstract. For instance, we attribute images with greater communicative power than we do other elements. As the saying goes, an image is worth 1,000 words. In graphic design, back to this, images help create a connection with the text and can clarify the information presented in a layout by adding meaningful and evoking association. When we look at the image on its own, it's not enough to be meaningful. Its meaning changes depending on the context and the position. In other words, the way it's used. In the right context, even an abstract image like a yellow circle can bring to mind the sun. In the wrong one, a photo of a real people can convince the public. The images I'm talking about, we have different kind of images. One, we have photograph, illustration, drawing, and graphics. Let's look at them one after the other. Graphics are images which, using just a few elements, try to convey the concept as seen in icon and brand. Unlike illustration, graphics are simplified to the point where often all that left are shapes and symbols that describe the subject. Look at this image as an example. This is the image from the book Understanding Comic by Scott M.C. Cloud. When you look at it clearly, you can see the perfect example of what I'm explaining. At times, the choice of image type exerts a significant influence on the graphic communication and composition. And one type of image might be better suited to convey a message than another as a graphic designer. At times, when we look at the photograph as one of the examples of images, photographs are associated with documented or assumed to represent reality. They are concrete, pure, environmental, and reliable because not at times being manipulated. Look at the illustration, which is the second one. Illustrations are perceived as curated and personal, readily showing their method of creation. They evoke fantasy, display impossible or ideal situation, and portray their content in a subjective way, even if they are naturalistic. Icon, symbol, and translation distill and simplify complicated, abstract idea. They are most often associated with diagram navigation and identification. So when you look at the image can also be typographic at times in the sense that typeface can be manipulated to become an image that conveys a certain message. Look at this example. This is an illustration by Amado for an article in the New York Times. When you look at it critically, you can discover that at times the typeface can be manipulated to become an image that may convey a particular message to the outside world. Having got all this, then let's look at how we can create a dialogue between the images and text. That is, let's juxtapose, or in terms of a juxtaposition. As we all know, the goal of a designer is to judiciously blend different styles of image, drawing on the specific quality of each to convey a message in the right way, while a single image can provide sufficient information. But combining two images, that is, juxtapose them, increase communicative power. By juxtaposing two images, we can create a narrative and in some cases change the meaning that a single image will have had on its own. I will show you more perfect example of this. And when I'm talking about juxtapose, I'm indirectly talking about putting something side by side together in order to look at the differences, or merge them together in order to bring another meaningful information. Now the question is, images and text, are they really influence one another? Yes, they are influence one another. Let's look at the case of meme. In the same way, we can play around with the meaning. By combining image and text, the right text can change the meaning of an image and vice versa. Internet meme are a great example of how the meaning of image can be changed by text, by the juxtaposition of one another. So one side is the Facebook page. When you look at the Facebook page, in which we can add a picture that's already been manipulated, thereby totally change our perception of this image by giving them a new meaning. Fine. Let me give you an example of how we can pair image. When we pair an image, does it create a new meaning? If I use a close-up photo of a woman covering her face with her hand, it takes on different meaning depending on the text that accompanies it. Yes. So what, for instance, if I post a picture of a woman covering her face, her head is looking down, that will actually communicating, bringing another meaning. But it will take on different meaning depending on the text that accompany it. If I add a second image next to this, for example, of an alarm clock, it will take on yet another meaning. Look at this perfect example of the picture I'm displaying. This explaining what I'm talking about. So in some cases, pairing two images can even create new image, like in this, by this design I'm going to show you. When we look at it, you can actually see the bulb and another design, which is opium, placed on top of it. When you look at it, they are two different images entirely, but pairing them together communicates, giving another different meaning. The perfect example is this graphic design by Lacoste. When you look at this graphic design, you can critically see that there are two images being combined together, paired together, and they are giving a different meaning. Let's look at the third image. This also is two images entirely being paired together. They give different meaning. And that is the reason why at times the right image, the stock image that we want to use, need to be used strictly with care. Now, how can we handle stock image with care? How? In what sense? When can we use the stock image? How can we use it? Where can we find them? When we look at it, the graphic design combines text and images to convey a message. We all know this. This is obvious. We already seen how text position can orient the message in one direction rather than another. How an image is used and its context can give diametrically opposite meaning. This is the case with stock photo. Those images that can be bought often for just a few pounds, naira, dollar, from many image bank online. Stock photo are easy to get hold of, cost little, and although say increasing using by private individual, are mainly bought by firm for commercial use. So stock photo are used on hotter or retouch in communication by many firms as part of their visual strategy. To show you just how important it is to be judicious in your choice of stock image for your communication campaign, here are the recent example I'm going to show you. Let's look at it. The importance of choosing the right photo for any design. I could remember a few years back in Italy, there is a kind of awareness about how lifestyle choice affects infertility. The booklet cover juxtaposed two stock images. One show what seemed to be two young white couple having fun at the beach, attractive, smiling, and cheerful. They were rendered in bright and natural color and represent a good example. The other image depicted a racially mixed and less polished group of young people smoking and cigarettes and cannabis, which was rendered in more faded tones to emphasize the idea of a bad example. Look at that too. The message, and you can rightly see this in the image I was showing you. The message that this juxtaposition sent was not exactly what the ministry has in mind, focusing attention on difference between the two images and on the ethnicity of the people in the two photos. So the two stock image available for anyone to purchase had been bought and used by other organizations and companies in quite different contexts and conveying quite different meaning. Travel freedom, integration, work fund, the effect of two images juxtaposed in the Ministry of Health booklet, however, ended up overshadowing the intended message. That is, that adopting healthy lifestyle protects fertility. So, and instead sparkling controversy about racial stereotyping. So in this case, the consequence of carelessly combining stock image cancel out the booklet intended message, making it infamous, not so much for its content, but for its form. So we can actually deduce that at time we should be able to know how to use the right stock image when it comes to design. So in choosing the right stock image, you have to as a good graphic designer, you need to do an extra work, checking the image, interpret the image. You can just use an image anyhow. And from this scenario, we can be able to get the fact that using the right image in a context or in a situation at time can bring the design down. Now, let me show you how stock image, the pitfall to avoid whenever we want to use a stock image. The pitfall to avoid. When presented with a stock image, we often get the impression of something fake. A brochure or a website full of stock image, plucked as they are from an image bank, does not inspire confidence. So, it's important to avoid images in which people are shown in conventional places and settings, which is often what happens in image related to business world. It's better to use images where the poses are more natural and which haven't been around for ages. To help with this last issue, there is a tiny eye, a site that monitor and show how many times and images has been used and where. When choosing a photo, you should also have a clear idea of the messages
So fine, let's
that you
look
want
at
to
this.
give, so that image
How we
is
can just
complement the
discover
content
whether an
and
image
is
has
not
been used
just a
before or
flyer.
not, and where
So
it
now
has
let's
been
look at
used.
the
This is
example,
what when you
or
open
let me
the
show
image
you a
or
quick
you
tip
open any design
on
on your
how you
phone,
can know whether an image
the
has
Google
been
lens
used
on your
or not
Google on your
used before.
photos photos galleries, you can actually see all these options: share, edit, lens, and delete. Tap on the lens, then the lens will automatically show you where all this image has been used. You can actually see them one after the other. So you can check. You can go further by checking how many places this image has been used. Where are they? Do they use it in any design? Is it a related design to yours? And this is how you can actually find out where you can go. How can you go about this? So now the question is how to use image as a professional graphic designer. Stocks image, because as you can see, what I just displayed to you, many designer might not know. We have other application, we have other websites where we can check when, how this or how often this image has been used. Now the question is how to use images in the right sense. Stock image created to satisfy various needs and be sold to as many customers as possible can, however, help a graphic designer to pack a punch, especially if you manage to make them original. Cropping, enlarging, distorting, adding element, and generally playing with this image is a great way of creating striking graphic design. A while back, there is an article that explains the tips for using image more effectively in editorial design. The first tip is what we are going to pay attention with. The first tip was to channel the content message. The type of content and the tone of voice can guide you in your image choice, whether it's a photographic or an illustration. At times, photographic is more effective in representing a specific subject that the text refers to, and controlling tone and humor, like in the photo below. As you can see this photo. So illustration is more effective communicating more abstract concept as well as adding personality and color to the design. So in the graphic design, images were always perfectly in keeping with the content, both visual and in terms of meaning. It is an approach that continues to influence graphic design today, especially in magazine. So when you look at all these images I'm showing you one after the other, you can actually see them that they produce a good graphic designer. And in order to produce a good graphic designer, to produce a good graphic design, you need to arrange all the elements as shown in these images. The element that we lay out on the pages are mostly text and images, just as important to understand fonts to get the most out of it. So it's also important to understand the images. It is therefore important to understand what the right type of image that is, photo, illustration, drawing, graphic for your graphic design, how it combines with the content and how it affects the messages. To do so, you always need to consider the context in which the image will be used and make it related to the other visual elements around you. So this is just a tips, and it's not something that we can overemphasize when it comes to aspect of graphic design. As a good graphic designer, you should be able to take a cognitive measure in checking, know when, know how, know where this image has been, and how is it really related to your design? How is it related to what you really want to make your design to be? And how is it going to communicate? Or how is it going to be blend along with the message, the text that you are going to give? At times, to round it up in summary, the font that we normally use, the color that we normally use, the background color that we normally use, and other element that we normally bring together to support our image in communicating to outside world to make a particular design has a lot of role to do when it comes to stock image selection. We need to take cognizance of that. I believe with this episode of learning, we are all